right, guys. What a day, what a day, what a day today. So it looks like I'm up about, we're not closed yet, but maybe about 60K on the day. Nothing crazy, nothing too special, but not a bad day nonetheless. Forever metaphorically speaking. Right on, Seedless. All right, Mohead in. Hopefully I'm saying this right, dude. Hey, Jesse, do you think we can get a video showcasing your thought process when looking at technical and fundamental analysis? Yeah, I probably need to formulate that again. I do have a video that talks about like trading view, and you can look that up, and it talks a little bit about technical analysis, kind of the roundabouts. I haven't done anything that's kind of like soup to nuts for looking at technical and fundamental, even though I do kind of do that every day on the market recap. Oh, sorry, I have a retainer. My old ass didn't get my teeth fixed until I was an old man, so I have to wear a retainer to keep my teeth straight. It sucks, man. Take care of stuff when you're younger. But yeah, so I think I do need to do something like that. But you can catch a lot of it in the market recap, and I would just encourage you to ask questions about anything I'm doing at any point. I will try and answer them. It might be near the end of the market recap, but if you stick around, I'll try and get to your questions and answer them. So that we can all kind of get educated, because there's other people here that are probably in a similar boat, and you ask a question and then they're like, oh crap, I didn't know that. So I think this is a good place to do it too, but I'll try and have some bigger picture videos where I kind of hone into my thought process. The gist of it, the very big summary, is just the macro. The global liquidity is really the global liquidity is the base, right? You got to have global liquidity expanding to have assets in general move, and then it's the macro and geopolitical environment, and then it's the actual companies themselves and how they perform, and then it's the technical analysis. That's kind of the high level. But yeah, let's get into it today, guys. So lots of crazy stuff with the U.S. economy and just economic data and things that I want to talk about. Also political stuff. Bitcoin is pumping. I need to speak to this because I really think that this is important. I've been saying this for days, probably weeks now. I've been saying the same mantra over and over and over again. A, I told you we're going to break up, and we have. B, I said that when we get good news that helps Trump in the election, we'll see Bitcoin go higher. And I would argue that that happened today as the price of Bitcoin is pushing $62,000. Shortly after news that Robert F. Kennedy, something else I was right about, indicated that he will be having a press conference, a big one, on Friday, so in Arizona. So the chances that that ends up being something that's pretty huge, I think is high. I think it's a high probability item, and again, I think that's why Bitcoin's up. I think that's very clearly why Bitcoin's up. And I think people are going to start to understand this more over time, but they'll figure it out. They'll get there. But yeah, what a day. Let's just look at it. Let's look at the heat index. We got NVIDIA earnings in the not too distant future. We're going to be talking a little bit about that too. Not a bad day for NVIDIA. Not a bad day for Amazon. Really a lot of companies bouncing today. Tesla ending up 1%. That's actually kind of shocking. It was down for most of the day and then finally started to turn around. So look at our shit coins. Bitcoin excelling. This is an area I've been wrong. I'm rarely wrong, I feel, but this is an area where I've been wrong. I thought Bitcoin dominance would start to roll over. We'll probably look at that today. I want to take a look, but I was wrong about this. Benjamin Cohen was right, and he tends to be that way. So if you're betting between me and Benjamin Cohen on an argument that I'm against or he's for, whatever, we're on opposing sides. Probability tells you that he's probably going to win that argument and that I will not. But I'm working at getting better. I'm not perfect, but I'm working at it. All right, let's take a look. Indices, the S&P. I told you we were going to keep going up. I told you it's a great sign because it just shows that we're getting ready for another breakout in what could be a three white soldiers movement. When we hit that .618, just like I was talking about yesterday and the day before, it's going to have that three white soldiers, and it's going to have that into a breakout move to the highest levels the S&P has ever been in, and that is super bullish, up 0.42% on the day. Do not hate it. The NASDAQ, let's look at the tech side. What does that look like? Well, it's 0.53%, so it's up a little bit more. So that's good. And again, this thing bounced off the .618 and the peak volumes over a pretty decent time frame, over a year, and then also the 200 daily moving average. This is like the perfect area to bounce. And again, outperforming the S&P. This is the natural order of things. The Russell Good old Tom Lee. We're going to listen to him today too. The Russell bounced 1.32%, more than doubling the Nasdaq and almost tripling the returns of the S&P. This is also the natural order of things. We're very happy to hear this, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this continue, especially after the Fed with Jackson Hole and the comments we're likely to get out of that. Again, I'm not expecting 50 bips. I think 25 is a much more realistic interpretation of what's coming. I think 50 is too much, and this is coming from a guy who's been calling for rate cuts since March. So I think I'm, yeah. I mean, I've been overly optimistic, and I'm saying 50 is too much. So I think that says a lot. All right, so let's look. Lots of other stuff going on in the world, guys. We got the dollar. Let's look at the dollar. Still trying to find support. Ooh, yes, it is. It's trying to find support on what was a previous resistance line starting in December of 2016, almost 8 years ago. So the chance that this is support, I would argue, is pretty high, wouldn't you? 8 years, long time. So I think we continue to find support here. And again, I've said the same thing. The range, I should just draw this. I'm going to draw a box. We're going to find a box as soon as I remember where that shit is. I haven't been drawing enough stuff. So I got to figure out where everything's at. Rectangle. There we go. All right, so here's the deal. This is the range, guys. This is where we're at. Probably right about here. We could maybe shoot down to here. This is the range. This is our range that we're going to trade in. We're probably going to do it for a very, very long time. So get used to it and don't expect that the dollar is going to go up or down with any great velocity, because it won't. It's just going to do this over and over and over again in this range, finding this support down here, maybe trying to break up, rolling back over. It could take a year for it to actually do something of substance. That's something you should probably think about. And if it just trades in that range, then again, we don't have that problem that I was talking about in that Jack Mallers video from yesterday, where if we expand out too much, we have a sovereign debt crisis, right? If rates start going, or the dollar starts gaining too much strength, we have a sovereign debt crisis. And if the dollar, weakens, we have the exact opposite of that. So we have the Japanese carry trade unwinding. So I think it's very important to realize these things. It looks like gold is such a boring fucking thing. 31%, 13 years. That's all you've gotten in 13 years. That's a horrible fucking return. That's gold. Next, oil. Yay for oil. I think some guy who's really smart and talks about this stuff Monday through Friday in this thing called the market recap was talking about how oil would fall and keep falling and dip into the 60s most likely. I do think that we're going to still hit the upper 60s, but this will act as support. But again, it's doing exactly what I said it was going to do. And again, I think we could wick underneath of here, like maybe just get near 60 even, and then try and pull back up. But I wouldn't expect. Here's the thing: oil's going to be boring too. It's going to be boring too without geopolitical risk. It just is. That's where the economy's at, and we've got slowing downs in some parts, and we've got some acceleration in others. But it's going to leave prices really flat, I think, because we're the leading oil producer in the world. We're producing more oil in the United States than we ever have in history. So even though Biden loved, especially in the beginning of his presidency, to act like he was against oil and big oil and all this other stuff, he's done the exact opposite of that, to the dismay of both Republicans and Democrats. Neither one of them are happy about it. But it's true, and so we talk about it. The MOVE index, that's the volatility index for bonds. It is up just a little bit today. Not a lot to report on there. Again, I don't think it's going to mean much. And then we see the 2-year rolling over again. I kind of said, hey, I don't think it's actually even going to make it up here to retest. I think it's just going to break down. I should actually change this to red real quick because it broke down out of this rising ascending wedge, and then it wants to go to this 200 average. I think it really wants to do that. And let's see what it looks like. Yeah, in the daily we're well underneath, but it wants to go to that 200 moving average. And that's probably where we're going to head. And that is a much lower rate on the 2-year. That's 2.8%. And it doesn't have to happen right away. It could take multiple quarters. It's not a big deal. But it's nice. It's nice to see it continuing to weaken a little bit without the MOVE index getting too crazy. Like the MOVE index is pretty flat. We like to see that. All right, the inversion with the 2 and the 10-year. Staying uninverted. Who knew? Me. I keep saying it all the time. Yen. The Japanese yen. So the dollar versus the yen or the dollar continues to weaken. This is great. We don't have to worry about the Japanese carry trade. Why is that? Because the dollar is weakening, and if the dollar is weakening, then they're safe. So again, and we don't want the sovereign debt crisis from the opposite direction either. It's pretty straightforward stuff. The yuan actually, so the yuan gained strength against the dollar. I've been saying that this thing would break out. Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Am I looking at this the wrong way? I'll look at it later. Whatever. Anyway, all right, let's move on. Put call ratio. It's bouncing a little bit. That's probably normal. It's not crazy for people to start to hedge here. We'll look at the fear and greed index in a second. Let me go out and close this real quick. I'll actually just do that right now. So if we look over at the fear and greed index, we're right at neutral. And then we've climbed very quickly. So when we look at some of these indices, if we go over here and look at, like, let's say the S&P, on the weekly time frame, we're almost in overbought territory. Now, it could stay up there for a while, and it's not actually overbought yet on the daily. But again, we're getting kind of in this overextended area. So it's not super crazy for people to start hedging bets by getting more puts versus calls. Let me see what else we want to cover real quick. I think that's good for now. I want to jump over real quick, and we're going to pull up economic information in here. There's a few topics I want to hit that are loosely economic. I'm just putting them in here in the order I want. So first off, I already said it. I said that Bitcoin's screaming higher, and I think that directly relates to Trump odds. I won't rehash that. I told you guys, again, that RFK Jr. was going to announce that he's going to be basically fall in line with Trump and hand his 3 to 4% over to Trump. And that majority of that would go to him because they just aren't aligning with Kamala's values at all. So Trump is the biggest benefactor of this. In some polls, we have Trump leading by 10 points already. You add another 3 or 4, and it's going to get weird. But the momentum, because of the policies that Kamala's pushed out, things are definitely shifting. And why do I care? If Kamala gets elected, I think the stock market and Bitcoin take a massive hit, and Bitcoin probably bounces sooner once people realize how much money she's going to spend and how it's going to be an asset that you want to hold when that happens. But I have the opposite thesis if Trump is getting ready to win. If it looks good that Trump's just got this crushed going into the election, then we're going to scream higher, I think, between now and November when the election occurs. So it's going to be like, it's one of the two. If Kamala starts to win, then it's going to take a big shit, and then eventually Bitcoin really rises. Maybe the rest of the stock market doesn't do as good, especially certain sectors. But Bitcoin will still do good. But again, if Trump does well, I think all of them do. I think that's the game right now. I think that's the math that we're looking at on the table, which is why I'm bringing it up. And then stock market news posted. We're now just 1 week from NVIDIA earnings, and this is what the CEO has to say. Let's listen to it. It's kind of important, I think, and I'll touch on which part.
You know that we have reinvented computing for the first time since the IBM System 360, 60 years ago.
Okay, that's the part. Hey, Sean, thank you for joining, man. I really appreciate you. So that's the part, right? It's the part where he says we've reinvented computing, and it's such a dramatic way that it hasn't been like this, and we're not looking at a level of reinvention in 60 years. So I think that's a pretty big deal. And then you got earnings coming up, and then you've got people like Elon Musk and other companies, Mark Zuckerberg and others, validating that these guys have the real deal with the chips that they have and what they can do for AI. So I think they're going to continue to outperform. I think this is going to be an awesome thing for the entire stock market as earnings come, and as we're talking about rates coming down because of hints from the Jackson Hole symposium. It's going to be a lot of good things coming, guys. A lot of good things. But I'm going to let Jensen finish here.
There's $1 trillion worth of data center infrastructure installed in the world based on that old method of doing computation.
Only $1 trillion TAM for what he's talking about. Only $1 trillion, guys. That's not a lot of money.
Now we have accelerated.
I mean, nowadays, when you compare it to the government, it's not a lot. But I'm joking. It'd be sarcastic otherwise.
Computing, and we have the killer app for accelerated computing called generative AI.
I think he's saying they're going to do well, because there's 1 week till earnings, and this is the way he's talking. It's not exactly hiding. He's telegraphing to you guys. He's trying to help you out. All right, real quickly, I wanted to just rail on Gavin Newsom because he's just a dumb piece of shit. So here we go. It says, breaking. A California State Senate committee has approved a bill to allow illegal immigrants to buy homes with zero down payments and 0% interest. What's fascinating about this is the laws also in California will make it to where you can't kick them out if they can't pay because of the way the legal system works and squatting rights and like just tenant. All this stuff is just bullshit. So they're going to give illegal immigrants 2 million homes, even though they've got one of the largest housing shortages in the country and are one of the most expensive markets to live in on earth. We're going to also house 2 million illegal immigrants. And how the fuck are we paying for that? I'm sorry. Whatever. It's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. And I'm trying to be nice. All right, this is great. So this is Biden, Harris's, what the fuck ever. This is some Democrat dude who's trying to justify inflation and why that's occurring because of price gouging, right? And he's going to try and do that on Squawk Box, and it's not going to work out well for him. Joe manages that. Actually, all of them manage that. We're going to listen to this. It's going to be fun.
First of all, on the talking about competition and standing up against price gouging is something that reaches out, I believe, to everybody. We saw very
Joe's not going to be quiet.
Tough years after the pandemic with supply chain issues, but she didn't talk about. She was very clear about that. There's a huge difference between talking about competition and making sure that we address anti-competitive behavior.
If you look at
price
grocery
controls,
stores, the price margins are only 1-2%.
And Josh, that's not what caused the inflation. So, and for you to say it with a straight face, it doesn't help your cause at all.
But Joe, talking about
Joe.
As a capitalist, I believe in competition and making sure that there's actual competition. You got states.
Why didn't the corporations raise? Why didn't the corporations gouge for 40 years if that's what caused it?
I'm sorry, that's a great fucking question. Why all of a sudden did they start gouging? How does that work? Show us the math. Show us the gouging. Show us what the difference is. Earnings for a lot of these companies are very, very tight, and they're just staying near them, okay? They're doing everything they can to be efficient. The capital markets work because if they aren't competitive, they lose out and people go elsewhere. This is directly from money printing. This is why this happens. We know it's the government doing it. And we know that there was an excuse for Trump to do it because there was this stupid COVID shit that was mismanaged. And then at the same time, he was having to print money for it. But Biden didn't have to do that. That could have all been over. And the money printing could have started to slow down. But that's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to take a different approach. I was for it at the time because I thought it would benefit Tesla. And I was greedy and I owned the stock. But it really didn't benefit Tesla, arguably, at all. And it sucks because it impoverished a bunch of people that were already poor in like the bottom 30 to 40% of the country. So it's not... The companies didn't do this. This is across every sector. This is across housing. This is everywhere. The companies didn't do it. The government did. And to blame the companies is asinine, and it's the whole reason why the Democratic Party fucking sucks. All right, let's finish this. Sorry. And if you're in that party, no wonder I'm down to 210 people watching right now.
How did it suddenly happen? They learned how to gouge 3.5 years ago, and it went to 40-year highs on inflation. And when you talk about unifying, being where you are, you may be unifying intra-DNC, but I can guarantee you that what we're seeing in policies coming out are not unifying policies. And you must know that in terms of the populist.
But Joe,
they're not unifying to me. They're very divisive.
Well, I think we'd all agree that the other side has been clear about burning down the house and taking a much more extreme.
I think we would all agree. He's just going to rail on him for this. This is so good.
Perspective. That's all I'm saying.
No, we can't all agree. I don't think we're going to have to agree to disagree because I don't agree. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just making the point that I think standing up to anti-competitive behavior is not a bad thing.
Every statement begins with "we can all agree."
Okay.
No, we can't. No, we can't. That sounds
okay,
like.
Well, I'll say.
I love you, Joe.
Go ahead.
No, no, saying my
Congressman.
perspective, if that's better.
Yeah.
First of all,
Anyway, it didn't get any better, but I love Joe. I love Joe for tearing this guy apart and for just dishing it hard, man. He did not hold back at all. And you know, his business is dying. In the last couple of years, the traffic on CNBC and all these other sites is just plummeting. It's like half. It's really, really bad. So he knows his industry is dying. There was a guest on this morning that was talking about how mainstream media is dying. And he's like, but hopefully people still watch, Squawk on the street or whatever. It's just like, it's all dying. Anyway, bar chart. Global debt hits all-time high of 315 trillion, probably fine. Now, this is a horrible number. I mean, in 2016, it was 221. So you've gotten like a 50% increase in debt from that time. It sucks. But the thing that you should be looking at with this is not that number. It's the debt as a percent of GDP. This is what actually matters. So it is higher. It went from 320% to 333. So the world is very indebted. You don't want to be over 100 normally. This is partially like Japan, China, and a bunch of like really unstable third world countries that are dragging this number down so much. But it's not as bad as people make it out. Just at, there's a reason this line's in red. That's the one they want you to pay attention to. But it's actually manageable if you look at the blue one, because this is a course of 8 years and you only gain 3% debt. As when you're looking at debt to GDP, it's a better number is what I'm trying to say. All right, Wolf Research. I love these guys, man. They're my buddies. Eventually, the U.S. debt will be unsustainable. That's true. We don't know if we're there yet. We'll know eventually after the fact. When that happens, do you think they'll print it all away? Or will they default on the money they owe to the governments, banks, and so the defaults will be at our level? That's what he's trying to say. We will be defaulted on. Our wealth will be stolen. And that could happen across large swaths of the economy where they just have to change the numbers to represent a different number. This is why something like Bitcoin on a hardware wallet seems priceless if things did fall apart. That's what your insurance is for. All right, next. Ooh, wow, I got a lot of political shit in here. You poor guys. In Wokeness posted. Share this with your friends and relatives who still get their news from the media. It says, the Bureau of Labor Statistics just made their largest downward revision to the jobs number in 15 years. Total jobs dropped by 818,000 for the year. That came from manufacturing, 115,000, trade, transportation, and utilities, 104, professional services, 358, and leisure and hospitality, 150. So for professional and business services was huge. But this is crazy. This is basically widespread fraud across multiple industries. How does this happen? Anyway, whatever. Let's just forget that and just go past it for now. Meanwhile, 1.2 million native-born Americans lost employment over the last year, while 1.3 foreign-born workers found jobs. This is the thing I've been talking about, where I said that unemployment was actually going up because legal insured workers are losing their jobs, and they're losing them to illegal immigrants that are then getting the jobs, and it makes the unemployment rate go up, but the job is being filled. So it's deceptive, and this is why the insured unemployment might be a better number. And I talked about that in a video yesterday. But these are things you have to pay attention to. You got to make sure you're trying to look at things objectively and understand what's happening. And this is, again, the jobs data. This didn't surprise anybody. Zero Hedge and a bunch of people, including myself, have talked about how this number is pretty F for a long time. All right, Marty Party. He said, we going up. Global liquidity is heading for $100 trillion. It's currently at 80.91, but it's starting to scream. And that's what you need to look at. It's starting to go higher. And from scream, I mean, it was like 80.25 here on the 15th, and now it's 80.91. That's a pretty large expansion in global liquidity. This is a video with Tom Lee. It's Tom Nash, my buddy Tom, is going to be talking and then jumping into Tom Lee. We're going to skip Tom Nash, even though I love him. I love your takes, but we're going to try and save time. So let's listen to what Tom has to say.
Facts and logical arguments. And there's a lot of info, a lot of value there for long-term investors. I want you to pay attention to.
Come on, dude.
So don't click nothing. Don't smash nothing.
To 14 times. So it's not asking the market to provide some magic and a huge revaluation. It's actually just saying small cap stocks, which have been left for dead largely because the Fed's been tight for almost 2 years, as they start to normalize policy and as mergers pick up, its merger activity has been accelerating this year, and it should really strengthen because it's a sign of CEO confidence. All of these flow through to benefit small cap stocks, and it's not like smaller companies are growing slower. I know people post all these stats about small caps losing money. It's mainly because of the biotech components basically don't make money, and that's the largest cohort of stocks in the Russell. But the Russell 2000 median earnings growth is almost 700 basis points faster than the S&P, and top-line growth is almost 400 basis points. So you're getting better growth, lower valuation, and I think the catalyst is now when the market is convinced the Fed is embarking on a rate-cutting cycle. A 40% move in small caps doesn't mean the rest of the market goes down. I just think that's going to highlight that the market is broadening, which is something we all expect
and want.
But it's also basically doing a risk-reward analysis, which is, look, I think if you can get 18% earnings growth and pay 10 times earnings, perhaps that's a good risk-reward. And I think money that's on the sidelines or people who've been thinking bonds are going to be and cash is a place you want to stick for the next 5 years, but if the Fed starts cutting, they're going to look for.
Yeah, it's not going to be. If the Fed starts cutting, you're going to want to lock in rates and or get into the stock market. And history tells us the place to go is getting in the stock market and then worrying about bond rates less as more of a hedge. So that's what's going to happen.
Places where there's good risk reward, and I think that's small caps. So it's not like I would say sell NVIDIA to buy small caps. I think NVIDIA is still a long-term buy. I don't think the Fed has to make major cuts. It actually just has to. I think the market narrative that would be the best for small caps is the belief that real interest rates are too tight now, 5.5% versus
way too tight.
Inflation trending towards 2%, and getting rates back down to a neutral rate of 3%. If the market believes that, they don't need the cuts to be front-end loaded, but they have to believe we're going back towards neutral. I think that'd be a huge catalyst for small caps.
Agreed, and we can trail behind it too. There's more to this video. I'm going to reshare it right now so you guys can see it from my boy Tom, with Tom. But it's well worth watching. I can't believe that Tom Lee gives away all of this for free. I mean, he has his FS Insight service too, where he makes tons of money for people who get a little, more timely service across multiple sectors. I don't pay for it. But it's brilliant. It's brilliant analysis, and he gives a lot. He gives a lot to justify at least the base case so that he can get people on the program, and he keeps winning, and people just keep betting against him. So again, biggest negative. This is the biggest negative revision to payroll since the global financial crisis. Sorry. Since the global financial crisis, kind of a big deal in regard to the job revision. Again, just indicating it, but nobody cared today, right? The markets really did well. In the end, how much money did I make? 70,000 plus, probably 75,000. Oh, and somebody just asked, can we see how many ARCG calls? I got a lot. Bro. I got a lot. Too many. Probably find a different one. All right. Let me see. Going back over here again. Let me read a few more comments. Matthew says, Jesse, thank you for everything. Hey, man, no problem. Chris Cashman said, good morning, Jesse. I hope to hear you feed it to the Democrats today. Man, I feel bad about that, kind of. Todd Gleason, better number law. It's okay to say less bad about debt. Yeah, okay. I can see that. All right, let me see here. Oh, yeah, and Amit, he was talking a little bit about this today, too. He was just reiterating, this is a pretty big number, large drop. Market didn't care about it. He was hoping to do some dip buying. It's kind of the same thing that we were already talking about. Let me go back in here and, 1 second. Let me get a little bit further down the chain. I want to make sure I cover everything I really wanted to talk about. We could skip that. We already did that. Yeah, this is probably good. I think we got enough here. We did a lot of the good stuff. This thing gets a little buggy too whenever you pop out. It gets weird. So yeah, I think we're good. I think that's actually it for the U.S. economy. All I will do here real quick now is I'll get caught up with some questions, but I also want to just show what happened in regard to the MBA data that I was talking about yesterday. So the mortgage rate did fall just a small amount, down to 6.5%. Again, it's the right direction. We had a peak of 7.9 So it's nice to see us coming down. We're at one of the lowest levels we've been at since April. So it's a good number. That will continue, I think, dramatically if we get any hint from the Fed with Jackson Hole Symposium, indicating that we will be cutting rates in the future, or like pushing towards softness. Any of that, I think will look really good. Mortgage applications. So it says negative 10.1%. I don't think this is a big deal though. These percents back and forth, because if you look at the oscillation, we had two really good months, 6.9, 16.8. So I'd say the trend is still headed higher. Let me see if the change. I wish we had a better base value for some of these apps instead of just percentage related data. It really annoys me. I need to see if I can find a different graph. Here's probably a better indicator. The MBA mortgage market index. Again, it's not as good as last reading on August 9th. I think these are weekly. Yeah, the last reading on August 9th. But it's like the second highest reading that we've had since May of 2023. So it's also doing really well, is what I'm trying to say here. It's not a bad number at all. The mortgage index is starting to expand ever so slightly. But again, as these rates start to really plummet, especially I think heading into the spring, you'll see, and maybe over the winter, you'll see people trying to jump into the real estate market as they start to see opportunities. So it should get really, really fun. Did I look into PAGs? It says 2 a.m. No, that's my goal for this afternoon, though, and I might still do that members-only video tonight. Let's see, MBA Mortgage Refinance Index. Look at this. Again, a great read, and this is a really dramatic look here where you can see, again, highest levels we've seen since, I don't know, June of 2022. So over 26 months of level highs in the refinance index. So you're going to see that one probably. That's going to be the canary in the coal mine. Refis are easier to do. It's kind of like a HELOC. So you're going to see that probably happen a lot because some people will refi just to temporarily lower their expenses, and then they'll take a hit on fees again to do it again just to drop more points, and they'll just do that over and over. Some people are really impatient or they don't understand the market. So this will be the canary in the coal mine. This will explode before everything else. And the purchase index, let's see. I don't know if there's anything. It says the MBA purchase index in the United States decreased to 130. How old is this one? Oh, yeah, no, quite a bit. Yeah, see, look at how low this level is. We're still way down over here. We're still at levels we were in like the late 90s. And again, as mortgage rates start to drop, I think that you're going to see this just balloon higher. But I think the mortgage refi index, that's the best one. And applications, maybe. Those will be more the leading indicators for where we're headed. Now, again, we got the FOMC minutes. I haven't read through them. I don't know if anybody else has. I will be doing that. And then the Jackson Hole Symposium is still going on. It's going on Thursday. And then Friday, I think, is where we usually get like the big speech where they'll kind of fill in the details of what's going on and where we might get some optimism. All right, let me see here. Just going to get caught up. Hey, Jesse, thank you, man. When I started to understand miners, I opened one of your videos and changed my perception. Then I created X only to follow you. And then CLSK is my pick. You the man. Oh, that's awesome, dude. All right, awesome, David. I hope I could be of value to you, man. And I hope you do really good. Dr. Gonzo gave me a clap. Thanks, dude. Silas, I'm a registered Democrat, but they just don't tell the truth much on a significant matter. I know it's politics just go back and forth with lies and deception. But right now, I think the less evil party is the Republican one with Trump at the helm. I wouldn't have thought that before, but I also all I got was negative Trump information. Again, what is it, like 92% or I'm sorry, 84% negative Trump stuff versus the 89% positive Kamala Harris stuff on mainstream media. That's all I knew, so I didn't know any differently, right? There's probably a lot of people that feel that way and that their opinions have changed. I think a lot more than people realize. Kamawa, you said watching the market recap while on a flight to Dubai. Awesome, dude. Can never miss a day. That's really appreciated, man. Sela said, I expect PAGS is a value trap. I worry about that. That's why I didn't want to get too excited when earnings, it just plummeted, 12, 13%. But again, it's definitely, if it's a value trap, it's a damn good one. But I'll look at it and get as deep as I can. And then if anybody else looks at it too, come with your notes and we can cross-check them against each other, maybe as early as tonight or tomorrow. That will be one of my videos for tomorrow. I've got a Lynn Alden video that I want to do for tomorrow, and then I'm going to try and do, I think, that PAGS one for tomorrow, and then I still got the Bitcoin miner one. I don't know if that will be, this weekend is my birthday, so I'm probably going to be lazy, but that'll come soon. Let me see here. Silas, in South Africa, their top-level corruption state capture. We have this in the USA too. Good term, in my opinion. Their top-level corruption state capture. What do you mean by that, Silas? Just to make sure that I'm understanding you. Walter Bryan, do you think Tesla will have a run-up for the robotaxi? I do. I think we could get as close as 300. I know the recent bounce is because of the incoming rate cuts. Just wanted your thoughts. I think it's going to be both. It's going to be all the other positive narratives with what's happening with X, with Neuralink, with SpaceX, with Starlink, with Tesla, with the Boring Company, with X, like just the manifestations of X and autonomy with FSD, and then the robot. There's so much stuff in conjunction with Autonomy Day that can be hyped up and built up that will drive us higher with Tesla. So yeah, I do think that we'll run up into that event. We just should. We were up 1% today. I mean, that's not a bad number, and I wouldn't be surprised to see us close the week closer to 233 or 234. That's my take. And then we try and maybe even we try and break up and get up to the 245 range by the end of this week, especially if we get the news I think we're going to get with the Powell by Friday. So I'm very excited personally, man. I think yeah, slam the like button, folks, and it's my birthday coming up, so you got to do it for that reason, if nothing else. They call it state capture. Oops. Happy birthday, thank you, Matthew Ting. All right, let me get to it. Let's just keep rolling along here. So again, we already looked at the stock fear and greed index. We're in neutral. We're not too crazy right now. We are approaching. If we look at the S&P real quick, I just want to look at this. So we are approaching on the daily time frame. If you look here, we're getting closer to overbought conditions, and on the week, we've had a really great week. We're already nearing that. So it's possible that maybe we go a little bit higher. But again, I think we're going to have some resistance at 56.70 right around here. And maybe like a little bit of a retrace or just some time passing before we break out. But I think, gosh, it might be as little as next week. So this could just get really weird really quick, in my opinion. I'm very excited about what's coming. Let's look at the fear and greed index for the crypto market and see how much better that's getting. I can't imagine it's too fearful. It's 26. It's on the edge of extreme fear. That is shocking. This thing's probably a little delayed. It'll update with the nice numbers that we have on Bitcoin today, and I think we'll see that start to scream higher. But yeah, good things are coming. Let's see how we're doing on the September rate cut. 63.5% it looks like for one, and then 36.5 for two. I still think we're only getting one. Hasn't changed too much, but it's probably moved more into the favor of having two cuts, or at least it's kind of hovering around there. So we'll see what happens. The layoff tracker. Anybody getting fired? Again, that other video I did just yesterday, the one off of the Rex Finance where we were talking about jobs-related data and layoffs. That was a really fun one. It showed how layoffs are getting better, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. Now, we did get Skip the Dishes in Winnipeg. Do I care about Winnipeg? Nah. And then we got 5.9 in San Francisco Bay. I mean, San Francisco sucks. GoPro in San Francisco, firing some people. But these are hundreds of people. We're still looking at really, really low numbers for at least tech-related layoffs. That's a good thing, right? We don't hate that at all. Let me see here. Yeah, let's jump into... All right, so we've kind of done... I think we're done with economic stuff. I'm probably going to stop there. Let's jump over real quick to Bitcoin, since Bitcoin's kind of the runner today. And then we'll take a look at that, and then we'll take a look at stocks related to it, and then we'll jump into Tesla and do the rest here. I already went over that. And I said, I said my high target is 280,000 for Bitcoin, or at least it's right around that. The way this guy's drawing his line is putting it more in like a channel and making the assumption that 2017 was the high. I would actually... He might still be right with dumb luck in a way, because I actually think that... I shouldn't even say dumb luck. He might have undershot what the max could be. Whoa. Min Hodl, happy birthday. First drinks on me. Thanks for all your hard... You are awesome. $20. You rock. Thank you very much. Very, very sweet. I will make sure that we enjoy that. But yeah, so he might actually be off because I think we got neutered. If you look here, like I said, strongest rate cuts in history. I actually think we would have been like up here. So if you'd have to raise this a little bit. So my peak on this would probably be like 380. My upper like personal limit is 280 and my low limit is 150. So again, that's kind of what I'm thinking as far as where we're going to be with Bitcoin this cycle. And then when I say that, I'm talking like, I don't know, 7 to 13 months from now. It's not a lot of time. Not a lot of time to get in, guys. Fred Thiel, the CEO of Marathon, says, seems like hodling Bitcoin is a great investment. Over the past year only, NVIDIA is the only thing that did better than Bitcoin. Yeah, that's probably true. Maybe that's why they buy so much of their Bitcoin instead of actually mining it like they're supposed to. And I make that joke with money in Mara. I don't even know what I have. Here I got like 200,000, I think, a little bit more than that. So it's not like I don't have a vested interest, but you got to poke some fun. I do like the company, just not for the same reasons I like CleanSpark or Cypher. Bitcoin bull run begins, and this one he's got it up to about 500,000. Again, the targets are going to get crazier, guys. That's just what happens. This is a thing every cycle. It's going to be fun, but it shows global M2 money supply year-over-year changes, and it shows the recent growth that we've had, and it shows the trends of what money supply growth look like over the course of time. There's always other dynamics too, but again, you can see the impact in Bitcoin, and if we didn't neuter this with the fastest rate cuts in history, we would have done a lot better. All right. Let me see what else we got here. Oh, wait, that was in there. I was in the right one. Sometimes you don't know if you're in the right one. All right, right here. So I put BlackRock, or Bitcoin Magazine said, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF now has the third largest year-to-date flows among all global ETFs. BlackRock is the third largest flowed ETF in the world with their Bitcoin ETF. The third largest in the world. That's pretty cool. I think there's signal there. Elja says global M2 money supplies hit a new all-time high whenever liquidity rises. Bitcoin price follows. We just saw that in that other graph. And he's showing how we're in a breakout zone, as you can see represented down here. So I agree. The stablecoin supply is pushing to new record highs. If you know anything about Bitcoin and the crypto markets, you know that when stablecoins are being issued, they are used as collateral and quick purchasing options for contracts that exist. Where people are trying to buy their favorite shitcoin. So stable coins expand when more money is flowing into the sector. So this is another signal that we're about to make a bunch of fucking money. Real quickly, Cynthia Loomis says, or Bitcoin Magazine says, Cynthia Loomis, creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve will cut our national debt in half by 2045. I agree it could. That sounds insane, but it can. Could maybe even be sooner with what we can do with Tesla and with Elon Musk and all these other really brilliant people that can work with Trump in office. It could get crazy good. Secure the U.S. as world leader in financial innovation. We've kind of done that already, and if we implement this reserve, it's definitely that. Create a brighter future for generations of Americans. I think we all want that, irregardless of the political side of the aisle. This is the one defining factor that I love about Bitcoin, is there is no head to it. There is no Elon Musk. It's Satoshi Nakamoto, who's really Hal Finney, and he's fucking dead. And he became a mute right before he died because he had MLS. I don't know. He had something. I can't even remember what it is anymore. I've got to do research on it before I make a video about it. But he had a terminal illness that basically made him to where he couldn't communicate with the world for a large portion of the end of his life. And he stepped away from the project. Satoshi Nakamoto disappeared shortly before he started to have these problems. But again, you don't have that figurehead. They're gone. And that's the important thing, is that Bitcoin doesn't have that. And so there's no vector of attack, and it's clean, beautiful math that makes it to where you don't have to worry about government stealing your money. And so it's the perfect asset to own right now. And it's staring at us in technical patterns, screaming what it's going to do next. And the next move, I believe, is 92,000. And I hope people understand that that's coming. Keep backing out of this. Sorry, guys. Anyway, I think I got a couple more things. And again, we looked at that one. Stablecoin, Cynthia Loomis. Yep. Oh, in this one, the Bitcoin Standard. So people keep asking about books, and I've said the Bitcoin Standard is probably the best starting point for everybody. I just told a friend that in a phone call, and I'm not kidding. This book will teach you how money has worked throughout time, and then why some civilizations collapsed because of printing money. And then why the different mediums of exchange beat others, and how that's changed over time. It gives you'll understand how money works, and you'll understand why it's being stolen from you. It's from Seyfedin Ammous, and it's brilliant. It's the starting line for Bitcoin, in my opinion. So I'm just going to do forward this time. So that's what I would recommend. All right, that's the Bitcoin part. Let's look here real quick at the price and just see if it's still hanging up high there. And then we'll get into Tesla and other stocks and into your guys' requests. This is actually looking really strong to me. So we're still at 61.2, pushing up against the 50 on the daily. But this doesn't look like a bearish pattern at all. And it looks like what it's going to try to do at the very least would be to hit 62.8 or test up to 64 before potentially having any kind of downward move. I would expect this range to be hit at the very least. So to me, it looks like it's going up. How's MicroStrategy today? Nice, 5.78%. You can't hate that. One of the cleanest bounces out here. A great leverage play versus the underlying Bitcoin. It runs at a 2 to 3x the underlying asset for volatility. Marathon. Let's see here real quick. Is up 4,900%. From where it was, maybe a little bit less, from where it was back in March of 2020. That's just 4,800%. This is nuts. But I would say this is a good bounce today, 7.37%. That's part of why I got made 75. Actually, I might have even made 80, 85 today because I've got a lot of crypto shit in my other portfolios. And these are really good numbers today. So I might have to revise that higher. I might just be a little bit under 100K for the day. Can't hate on that at all. And a lot of that is because, again, this Bitcoin miner, my buddy Jake kept saying, hey, it's getting ready to take off. He didn't lie to you guys. He did not lie to you. CleanSpark, not bad either at 6.43%. Looking very strong, and wanting to close this gap at like 1330 real soon, very, very soon. So I would expect that, again, this week. That's my thought right now with the miners and Bitcoin. And Cypher was actually the least performative. It only did 2.53%, but it's more a speculative one. So we see this thing where people jump into the more sure things first, and then they dial up the risk curve. So this is the one you can expect to launch later, but be more violent in its in nature. All right, let's go back over. Let's go back over to Tesla, and we'll get inside of all that. So again, Tesla up 1% on the day. I think this is just a very strong pattern. Like I said, that wants to test up to about 235, 233, right around here to the 245 range. So that looks great. That's what we're looking for over the short term. And then if I go over here, pull up some of the latest and greatest about Tesla. We'll see the city of Baltimore is going to buy up to 5 million Tesla vehicles that are going to be used by government employees. See, what people are starting to realize is the math looks really good behind using Tesla vehicles to be able to, for drivers, for people that are working in the city, especially with the different varieties that you're starting to get in companies that are working to help modify them to work for things like, policing or whatever. It's getting really cool. Cybertruck guy posted, this is Starshield, the military defense version of Starlink. It's finally active. Brian put out here, Brian Krasington is a weird person. He loves to hate Elon Musk and then also loves to love him. But this says breaking, Elon Musk, and this is a long time ago, 2023, SpaceX has just won a major contract with the U.S. Space Force called Starshield. It's a secured satellite network for government entities helping with, payload, Earth observation, and communications. And this is the Starshield right here on a huge battleship. It makes me proud to know that Elon Musk is helping keep our military safe and help it to where they don't have to worry about some of the things that they would have to worry about if they didn't have this. So very, very cool stuff, guys. Very excited about it. Excited to learn more about it. Silas, living in expensive liberal cities tends to predispose people to this. Yeah. Silas, Kamala wants them to come out and vote. Baltimore, also harder to steal and chop shop Teslas. One other thing I wanted to point here too, the son of the walkie said, breaking, Morgan Stanley puts Tesla stock in their North American picks. This is one of their highest conviction stocks. I think that's signal. We're seeing more and more stuff like that. Also, it says brutal EV tariffs to benefit. This is from my boy Stephen Mark Ryan. I want to listen to it real quick. It's let's see. It's 13 minutes. I think we can listen to just the first part of this and get a decent amount.
All right, guys.
This has to deal with the lowering of tariffs that are happening in Europe, a dramatic lowering. It's like going down to single-digit tariffs from like 20-something% down to like less than 9 or around 9. So it's just a really good deal. And it's going to benefit Tesla, and I want to hear what he has to say about it. Just 1 second here.
I've got a question. Please tell me if you can spot the difference. Headline number 1. EU to hit Teslas from China with a 9% tariff. And now headline 2. EU slashes planned tariff on Tesla's China-made EVs. I'm just going to read this again. EU slashes planned tariff on Tesla's China-made EVs versus EU to hit Teslas from China with 9% tariff. Seems like very different narratives based on the same set of facts. So let's try and get to the bottom of this. Oh, by the way, shout out to everybody who was able to help out, providing some more clarification. First time in the history of this channel. But I'm posting an updated video with new information now. I have officially been fact-checked by the audience. Much appreciated. So I don't want another video floating out there with a misunderstanding. So let's clarify what the hell is going on. These are 2 independent headlines discussing the exact same set of circumstances.
I feel like the visual broke.
First clip is very short. From
1 second.
Doomberg, just to see. Again, the headline. EU.
I'm going to refresh. I think the visual broke on that real quick. I'll try and get back to the spot we were at. But I want you to be able to see it. This is one of the things I don't like about X, unless he's just sitting on that.
By the way, officially been fact-checked by the audience.
Oh,
much appreciated. So I don't want another video floating out there with a misunderstanding. So let's clarify what the hell is going on. These are 2 independent headlines discussing the exact same set of circumstances.
All right, get to it.
I just got to play this first clip. It's very short. From Doomberg, just to see.
Doomberg.
Again, the headline.
I love it. Oh,
EU
I
to
see.
hit
There's a
Teslas
play
from
button
China
there.
with a 9% tariff. So let's watch
Okay,
this
now I
clip
see.
and then we'll switch to the next and then we'll try and figure out what's actually going on.
Also watching Tesla right now, the EU is planning to hit Tesla with a 9% tariff on EVs imported from China. That's fairly
This is the opposite of what's happening.
low compared to what they're looking at other Chinese competitors. Let's get over to Abigail Doolittle. She's got to look at the stock for us. Abby?
It is absolutely low in the stock.
Wait, I'm sorry. This personally impacts me. Did Alex just say that Tesla's going to launch FSD for the Cybertruck in September? I get my FSD in September. All right, I'm excited. Thank you, man. Thank you. That's fucking exciting. Awesome.
Is liking it a lot. Now, this is a 4-day look of Tesla, but you can see over the last 4 days up more than 10% off of its recent low a couple of months ago, up more than 60%. Still down on the year, though, so some real volatility. But in terms of today's gain, up about 1.5%, having to do with the fact that that tariff, as you mentioned, from the EU for Chinese-produced EVs, much less than some of the Chinese companies themselves. Let's take a look at the comparison, and we'll see just how attractive 9% is. So for SAIC, they're proposing a 36.3% tariff. Geely, almost 20%. Build Your Dreams, 17%.
Yeah, so look at the reality of that. Holy shit. Only 9% for Tesla.
And there's Tesla, 9%. Now, what's interesting here is right now, China's about 20% of their production value. But if we go into the Bloomberg terminal.
Yeah, isn't that, Silas just said, so thanks, Alex, again. Silas said, with FSD, full self-driving, you can get older while driving better. Isn't that weird? We'll actually be at a time where we won't have to worry about driving at all. And we get that benefit of still having mobility, which our parents and parents' and everybody that came before them did not have. They just got older and they couldn't move, and without help, they would just be trapped in their house. And now we're going to have robots that can help us do everything, and then cars that can drive us around and take us everywhere we need to go. It's gonna change the whole industry the old folks home type industry will go away as we have robots that do those things for us. And then they'll still have like community areas maybe and stuff, but people could still live independently on their own. It's going to be wild. It's going to be a wild future, man. Very cool stuff. Alex Garcia, my grandpa about to get his license back. Yeah, get him a Tesla, bro. Kyle Wright, Volvo will have the same 9% tariff, which just means they'll import the Geely vehicles with Volvo. Oh, yeah, totally. You know they'll do that. We're not the Chinese, man. They're going to find a loophole. Kyle Wright, also, they're moving production for the XC30 from China to Belgium so they can avoid the tariff completely. Yeah, they have to do that. It's so weird. Volvo, it's a German brand, turning into a Chinese brand that is going to have to be made back over in Europe. It's just, I feel like we've taken the full tour. It's very strange.
Well, before we get to the Doomberg terminal, this is quite, I just don't understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of you folks will do digging and let everybody know in the comments. My best guess here for these uneven tariffs must be around maybe supply chain, where parts are sourced from.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit
totally
confused as to why you wouldn't just have a blanket tariff on it.
That's exactly
And these
why.
are in absolute terms, right? It's not relative, it's not percentage terms, it's actual number of vehicles. Roughly 750,000 vehicles. Now, call me crazy, but does anyone on Earth, serious question by the way, does anyone on Earth, at least watching this channel, it's not very many people on Earth, think that Tesla production in the United States is essentially going to stay exactly the fucking same, not only this year, but next year, and the following year, and the following year, and the following year?
So true.
To me that Tesla was 9%.
Let's see.
Anyway, they'll face an additional duty of 9%, which will be a total of 19%, which is the standard 10%, plus an additional 9% for made in China, versus the incredibly unfair, let's just be honest, and unreasonable additional tariffs for non-Tesla made in China vehicles. As we can see on screen now, imagine trying to compete with Tesla in Europe, and unlike Tesla, who can make vehicles in Europe and sell them in Europe and then avoid this 19% import duty. What a crazy idea. Imagine you're BYD and you have a cost advantage because your vehicles relative to Tesla, not great. I mean, they're okay, but you know, you cut a lot of costs, cut a lot of corners, you're not on the same level. Now, suddenly, you're facing, again, based on my best understanding of this, and thanks to the guys and girls who've been helping to clarify, there's an existing 10% duty. So now there's another 17% on top of that. So they're looking at 27%. So if they had a cost advantage of, let's say, 27%, well, that's gone now. Geely, we're looking at nearly 30%. SAIC, getting fucked hard. I mean, they're getting close to 50%.
Basically,
it'd be 46.3%, bro.
It's crazy.
That is absolutely brutal. And also a sign of things potentially to come in the United States under either administration. Wild times.
Sure.
And such a different narrative we're hearing from different media outlets. One implying that Tesla's going to get absolutely whacked with a 9% tariff, and the other reporting the same information, at least per my understanding, the way they were reporting it, as if the tariff was being slashed. But the truth appears to be it's nearly doubling for Tesla from 10 to 19%, although, like...
Okay, I didn't even know that. That's interesting. Updated things to the folks who clarified what's going on.
I said they make
what... One second. I need to see what else is under here. Volvo is the back toward a Geely. Maybe I missed it, but the reason why the tariffs are so different is how much subsidies the Chinese EV maker. All right, I'll look into that one more. I need to understand. I probably won't need to watch the whole video. I don't want to give you guys waste your time. I'll try and figure out what's happening there, though, and figure out, you know, is it an addition? Is it a subtraction? Is it putting them on an even playing field? How is it working against others? I'll watch the whole video and give you guys a summary tomorrow. So real quickly here, Hassan just posted, it's a huge deal in a time when Boeing is unable to even produce and fly a single successful space mission with the Starliner. Remember, there's people trapped up in space on the International Space Station until next year, until the Starliner can help them come down because of Boeing's mistakes. But it says SpaceX is preparing double Dragons for a flight of the Polaris Dawn and Crew 9 human space flight missions at a time. So they're going to try and do 2 of these things. That's just so fucking cool. Jeff Lutz put in here, huge write-downs, and notice another 2 years before Ford ships a new EV per this article, which quotes the CFO, and it will be a commercial van. So the Ford EV consumer lineup is not changing for at least a few years. So 2027 potentially is where we see a change in the Ford lineup. Ford is dying, guys. They're bleeding and they're not doing EVs and they're just going to die. They're the only other US auto company that hasn't went bankrupt outside of Tesla, and soon the only one you'll be able to say that about will be Tesla. Pretty big deal. 12.5.1.4. So my wife's Model Y now will be hardware 3. Will be getting this new version of FSD that's so badass that everybody's talking about. I think that's a pretty cool thing. Let me see here. Tesla on average receives 16,000 job applications a day. Tesla, the only reason I'm bringing that up is they literally have the best of the best of the best of anywhere on Earth, because the top 2 places that people want to work are Tesla and SpaceX, and soon, Neuralink and these other companies, anything Elon Musk oriented. So massive amount just for Tesla. 16,000 job applications a day. You got to be top tier to get a job there. It's nuts. All right, I'm not going to go into all of Kamala's tax stuff. That's just too boring. No, thank you. So we'll skip that. And then I think let's just go back to tickers and going through the rest here. So I'm going to jump into PayPal real quick. I'll go through my list, and then we'll go through your guys's. All right, so PayPal, again, this is a pretty good. We had our third higher high. Taking a break here is not dumb at all. We are overextended. If you look here on the RSI, I'll actually try and expand this out a little bit. You can see how we're at overbought territory. We're at the highest level of overboughtness since August of 2022, 2 years ago. So for it to take a break at this little volume peak and just grind for a little bit before breaking out higher is perfectly okay. Again, we don't need to rock it up right away. I've been saying that, I think, for a while. Robinhood continues to show strength. If you're looking at this on the weekly time frame, this looks real good. I expect that to continue. I could see Bitcoin again going a little bit higher, and if it does that, Robinhood's going for the trip. And we've got, next one is 52-week high, and then it's off to the $30 range. SoFi took it in the chin. Actually bounced a little bit. That's nice. Let's look at this over a shorter time frame. Let's just do today so we can see the bounce. So again, you can see where it's pressing up against that downward resistance. It's only gotten above it one other time on the daily back in December of 2023, but it couldn't hold it worth a shit. It couldn't do it here, and then it's still underneath. So if we can get above and we can start closing above this, and by some miracle we get above, the $8 range, that will be the first time we've really held above that, going back to March of 2024, a year and a half ago. So that would be a significant, and then it's from a breakout zone that's over 3 years old. So it's a significant break if we can get above that $8. And I think it's coming. It's just all about the Fed right now. It's all about that first rate cut. Let's look at Square. Square up 1.9% on the day. Again, above peak volumes and above the first fib. And I think it wants to go higher. I think it wants to test over the short term that 68 range. And that's probably coming fast. Palantir up 0.68. It actually inked out a little bit more at the end of the day, and that's pretty impressive, and it continues to drive higher slowly but surely. I think we're going to oscillate to where we start to fall over here soon. It's just inevitable. I think, that we drop lower here in the near future. But, I don't know. I've been pretty wrong so far. It's done a nice little job bouncing from the $21 range. So it doesn't suck to be in Palantir. ARCG had a nice day today, up 3% on the day. Again, that 3 white soldiers pattern I was talking about looks really healthy here. So very, very pretty. Looks like it wants to break up 28, actually probably the 29.50 range pretty quickly. It'll probably just run to 31. This thing will be a launcher. It will be a screamer. It will head higher. Yes, especially if we get the 3 white soldiers here soon. It's going to go a lot higher. And I'm very excited about that one. I think that's going to be a great play. All right, let me get into your guys' stocks. We're going to run quick here. So we've only been going for an hour. That's good. I was able to get through the content pretty quick. Nothing too crazy today. All right. Hey, Jesse. Kamawa said, hey, Jesse, what are your thoughts on Hive? James from Invest Answers did a minor video last week, and they were ranked 3rd. I'll be going over that stuff again. I don't think it'll happen this weekend because I'll be on holiday for my birthday, but next week, that'll be my goal for that most likely. If I can get it out this week, great. I'll let you know, and I'll kind of give my thoughts more in depth across a lot of miners. All right, Logan, if I didn't say it already, thank you for joining. Sidecar Guy, BITF purchases, SDIG scheduled for first quarter. Again, same thing. I will give more of an update on that later. Sally Vang, hi Jesse, can you take a look at Pan W? Thanks. The Nancy Pelosi stock. That one's, I've heard, is doing pretty good. I don't know the news behind it. I don't follow it. Nope, whoops, missed it. I will take a look though. Hey Jesse, what happened with PAGs after yesterday's talk? Seems like earnings didn't go well. No, they didn't. Yesterday we even started to see that because it was earnings and we could see that it was down 4%. I have not watched the earnings yet, but my goal tonight or tomorrow is to go through that and create a members only video on my thoughts of it. So expect it tomorrow. All right, Pan W up 171%. It looks like it's right underneath this .618 fib extension, but it looks like it could explode up. I don't know what's all going on with the stock though. They did just have earnings, it says, and it looks like it was at least a double beat. I don't know if it ever got updated up here. Let me see real quick. I will just refresh this. Sometimes you got to log out and log back in, but oh no, there we go. That's probably, well, that's weird. So if this is right, they had a really nice beat on revenue, but they diluted more shares and they increased their debt a lot. Why is this debt ballooning and their cash position is dropping so much? You know what I mean? This is weird. There's something weird here. Why so much debt? I got to listen to that. And the cash flow was very negative. Almost $1 billion for a company that made $867 million in revenue and pocketed 98 of that. I think the forward PE is still broken on here, but it says 11 for the PE ratio. 11.44, so that's pretty low. And again, the estimate looks pretty decent, a little bit lower for next quarter, but this is really strong revenue growth. But why is there so much debt? So some things look beautiful and exciting, and then I look at that debt, and the debt scares me. And then just that weirdness of, okay, why are we diluting shares now all of a sudden? Where did this debt come from? What are we doing with it? And why is it so cheap? So yeah, I'll do a lot of digging on this and see what I can figure out. If you guys find anything too, bring it to tomorrow or tonight. Hey Jesse, what happened? Yeah, okay, that's the same one. Cool. All right, let me see what else we got here. Pan W. Let's look over here. So I don't know what else is going on with Pan W. What other news is there right now? I know this is the Nancy Pelosi one where she bought the dip pretty hard. I don't know, maybe she sold some at a profit. All this looks good. This doesn't look like a bad company at all. The revenue growth is really nice. 12%, that forward PE is 57, so that's high, but so you could make some argument about the valuation, but when you're going up this much, as long as the markets don't fall apart, the valuation will hold. There's lots of good charts in here too. Not yet recognized billings. It looks like they got seasonality in that. Revenue by region. You can see where things are growing. Yeah, this is a nicely valued stock. It's a rich stock, and it could probably go higher if the growth continues to do well and the stock market does well. I could see us going higher, but maybe it trends for a little bit and establishes a handle to a cup, and then it breaks out, and then its measured move, could be pretty deep. It would be like, I think, to the next .786. Yeah, real close. So maybe it does something like this. Just a rough guess. I don't know a lot about the company, so I can only speak to it so much. Gotta love last minute BTC pump. What a glorious day. Yeah, it has been, man. It's been a good one. El Masi Racing, all good. Hope you're having a good day as well. Silas said Bitcoin and forever diamonds are manufactured easily. Yes. Alex Garcia, loving BTC plays today. Me too, brother. What's up, everyone? Full sin for Bitcoin. Everybody got excited. You could tell the price was pumping. Let me see here. Sean, thank you for joining too. Do you think we could get a video you showcasing the process when looking at technical and fundamental analysis? Yes, I will do that. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, guys, if you could smash the likes if you're here, that's very much appreciated. Especially with my birthday coming. Share ArcG, I did that. Let me see what else we got here. Watching Dubai. Sean Marion, number one, DDOG. I think that's the first one I'm looking at. All right, let me just take a look here. See if I have that one. It sounds familiar. Yeah, I do. Okay. Let me see here. Nice little bounce on this one. Datadog. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a nice bounce off the 100 moving average on the weekly. And it looks like it kind of was finding support on the 200 too. Let's look at what the actual valuation is for this thing. It looks, the technical chart to me looks pretty good just at a glance. What does it look like on here? Wow, kind of a steady eddy. Just consistent growth. Net income isn't bad. 43 million off of 645. Forward P of 68. Little rich, but it's a tech company. As long as they keep doing what they're doing, lowering debt, expanding out their bond and cash. They've got 2.5 billion in bonds. They are diluting consistently. What are they? They done any buybacks? Institutional ownership's increasing. Somebody sold hard in 2019, and then they had lesser sales. But nobody's buying. Nobody at the company thinks the stock is cheap. Evidently, everything looks good. EPS looks good. It looks better, and then you have revenue estimates that look tight too. So it looks like it wants to go higher. Yeah, let's take a look. What does the actual chart look like? Again, it's just the valuation is a little rich. So I don't know. I don't know if we try and trade around in this range for a while, or if this thing goes full send because of growth, and them executing on their revenue and their EPS. I don't know. I think there's better plays, it feels like to me. But this thing has also been at 200. I don't know. I'd rather be in Bitcoin and Tesla. I'll just keep it short. That's what I think. All right. Let's see here. I'd be pleased with a boatload of Meta and Goog and ByteDance layoffs. Senior staff. Walter says, I wish there was a tracker showing how accurate BTC price predictions were from the maxis. Oh, maxis are always going to be overly optimistic in a bull. I do that too by choice, because I'd rather have people err on the side of being in during the bull market than being out during the bull market. It's only when I think we've reached the end of it where I'm trying to get people to think about alternatives. So I'm going to feed you as much positive shit as I can to keep you in the market. I'll let you know when I think we've got really good opportunities that are cheap too, but I'll err on the side of being biased towards the upside. That's what you got to do. Otherwise, if you're not a voice of reason and confidence, then people can sell out because they fear that you've lost your conviction. So if you want to help people, you have to help them be convicted at the appropriate time. They've got to, or have that level of conviction at the appropriate level, appropriate time frame, right? Like you want to, and then you want them to reverse it later. So you got to think about that stuff when you're, putting yourself out there to the world. Is what is my impact going to be on others? What are they taking from this message? So, but yeah, this has had a nice bounce. It's up 90%. Could it go up and double? Maybe. I don't know how good the options contracts are. It looks like a pretty decent company to me. Let me see. I'll do another one here. Paul Hoger, Jesse, can you please check on Honest? I can do that. Trying to remember if these guys are making money. Up 7.62%. Looks like a nice little bounce. Again, if this is the trend-based fib extension, we are above the next fib level and running towards the $5.14 range. So it looks good there. And let me see what it looks like from this point. And Honest looks really choppy here. I don't really know what's going on with everything. Can you guys tell me what's happening with their data? Or maybe that you know what it is? These data components are probably broken in his system. So it looks like the revenue's going up. Net income is still negative most of the time. Cash flow's flat. They're diluting a lot of shares. It doesn't look positive, honestly, unless there's stuff going on behind the scenes. They bought back a little tiny amounts here. Short interest started to spike recently. That's interesting. Institutional ownership was waning for quarters and quarters and quarters, and their estimates don't look a lot better. This company has no growth. It's technically says 10% revenue, but it's still losing money. So I just don't know if this is, I wouldn't touch it personally unless you know what's going on with their business model and how well it's going to do. Is this one of the ones Jeremy likes? I can't remember. Lafarge? I can't remember if that's one of them or not. Let me see here. What else we got? All right, I think we're gonna end it early today, guys. I don't think there's too many requests here. I'm gonna try and work on some of that PAGS research, and see whether or not that's just a money trap. And then also, again, I've got a couple more coming. One with Lynn Alden, and then the Bitcoin mining one that I'm gonna try and work on. But I'm gonna be taking off probably I don't know, earlier on Friday. So do I go to the gym? I do a push-up every once in a while. I don't go to the gym as much as I probably should. I go there for like a back massage thing on this Hydra bed, but I don't actually work out enough. I think I need to do more of that. But I do push-ups every day, a few of them. So that helps a little bit. All right, I'm gonna skip ads. I don't want you guys to get stuck here. But yeah, so I think I'm good for the day. I think there isn't too much going on here. Did you cover ArcG? I did briefly, and I can look at it again real quick here as a reminder. But yeah, I did cover ArcG. I'm actually really excited about that. Yeah, one of Jeremy's should go up 100%. Yeah, okay, I remember that one. So ArcG was beautiful. It was up 3%. It's up 0.4% in after hours. It's completing a 3 white soldiers move that screams of a breakout, probably up to here at the 31 level over a short period of time. I might actually end up selling some ArcG at that level, like just a small amount, because it's going to be such a surge. It should give me a really good return. So we'll see. And again, very small amount, like maybe a 5% of my position or something, just like peanuts. But I'm going to start. I'll rewind, no worries. NVIDIA. Yeah, we could look at NVIDIA. Let's do that. NVIDIA. That's a good one. NVIDIA is going to be exciting, man. These earnings are going to be great. I wonder if I should do NVIDIA earnings. You know what? Let me ask a poll real quick for the remaining people that are here. I'm wondering. I think I should do NVIDIA earnings. I don't do that normally, but it's like a topic that... Should I do NVIDIA? Or is there a good earnings call? Yes. All right. We're going to put that out there. I want to see what you guys think, since you guys are the remaining people here. Did you cover snow earnings? I did not. Would you invest in Starlink if IPO? Yeah, I would, most likely. All right. You guys answer that poll if you want me to do that. If you want me to cover NVIDIA earnings, answer the poll. And so NVIDIA looks great, dude. This is such a good-looking setup, honestly. So you have this zone that was here that we broke down underneath. You can see where I had it before. We broke down underneath, and we ended up bouncing out of it. And if you look here, the slope of this up here, so then this was a steep drop. Lots of volume here. So this is just a really textbook continuation pattern. And if you look, you can see the peaks up here, the previous resistance zones that create this downward trend line perfectly turned into support. I haven't looked at this chart in ages, but this looks ready to send. It looks like it's ready to get up to the 140 range and have a breakout if earnings. And I think implied volatility has a 10.5% move on NVIDIA. So I think NVIDIA is going to take off, dude. What Jensen Huang was saying to us, I think a 10.5% move does not sound crazy. I wouldn't do that with options personally, but I think that's coming. Oh, excuse me. Cairo White, do you think CleanSpark options are still a good value? I do. What are they at today? Let me see. I think I made money off of them. Up 10.5% today. So they're starting to operate as a multiple of that, but it's just starting. They'll start doing 3 and 4x here soon if we keep going up a lot. But right now, today, it almost doubled the underlying asset. So it was like an extra 90% return. But that's what you like, right? You want that. So that's pretty cool. It'll continue to do that and outperform. And before you know it, those options, that 71,000 in options, that was originally only like 63K or something in options. Or yes, no, I'm sorry, 68,000 in options. is going to be a really good return and outperform the stock that's listed above it, even though there's $148,000 in there. This one will end up being the bigger amount because of that multiple. So it was a nice way to go from the stock to, hey, I don't have any money to buy the dip. Okay, I'm going to sell some of the stock. I'm going to buy the thing that's a multiplier of the stock. And then on the way up, I'm going to make a bunch of money and I'll just nibble off of it as I go up. And I'll put it into other things that I love. And that's what I do. I spread the wealth and I rebalance. But I'm invested in the things I'm invested in, right? And I hedge with the things I hedge. All right. Would you put money on Tesla now, here, or play it on NVIDIA earnings? I don't like playing earnings, man. Hey, Logan, what's up, dude? How do I gift a membership? I do have an iPhone. Gift one? Ooh, good question. I think there's a money symbol. For me, at least, there's a money symbol like next to the emoticons. You might have to request desktop, though, if you want to do that on your iPhone, or you'd have to do it on a computer because natively, for some reason, Apple iOS does not give you all the stuff. So if you do that request desktop, then you can see like how to become a member. And maybe if you don't see this little $ where you can gift a membership, or I do super chats or super stickers and that kind of stuff. If you don't see that, you will. Let me see. What did we get for the poll? The poll is, how many people voted? 39. Good enough. 85% say NVIDIA earnings. That's what we're doing. We'll shoot for that. Do you know how much about the rule of selling a stock to buy options? I assume you have to wait 30 days to buy options after selling shares, unless it's in a tax advantage. Oh, that's different. I don't totally know what your question is, but there are rules. There are rules associated with trading, but you can. I have no problem. I own the stock and the options. I've never had issues trading in and out of them. You do have problems every once in a while with your trading if you overtrade. There's some like T-regulation type rules that occur with stocks, and I believe options too. But that's why I use a bunch of different accounts between my wife and myself. This is just one of them. This is my primary one. But is so that I can, if I'm not able to because I've overtraded in one, then I can switch to the other. Sela says use a browser on iOS. Google does not want to play. It doesn't want to play with the apps. Totally agree. Yeah, they don't want to do the royalties. Good call. Yeah, I don't know if I answered that. Hopefully I did. All right, so I think I'm gonna call it. I think I'm gonna call it today. So it's 4:20. I've done this for about an hour and a half almost. I think I'm going to call it good. And then again, I'll work on the other videos. Thank you guys. I appreciate you for your time. Hopefully we continue to make a bunch of money here. I got a feeling we're going to start making a lot. And I look forward to new records. It's one of the funner things in life is breaking records. So, all right. You guys take it easy, man. And I will talk to you later. And I'm going to play this song today because I believe Bitcoin is going to save us, and I think people need to understand money, and they need to watch the Bitcoin standards. So we're going to go out with this because it's a great message and reality. Peace out, guys.
With time, a seed becomes a tree, sheltering us. With time, a skill becomes a talent, empowering us. With time, a technology becomes a tool, enhancing us. By nature, time gives value to almost everything, yet the very thing our society gives value to, our money, loses value over time. This paradox warps our reality by defying the laws of nature, and it stems from the belief that $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow, meaning money must always lose value. We built our reality off of this model. Time value of money, we call it, but in reality, this is just dogma. Since we can keep making more of it, we end up destroying our own purchasing power. So we put it in stocks, put it in bonds, put it in land, put it in funds, put it in crypto, put it in gold. But we are not oracles, so what do we know? We know that it's hard to get by. We know some people may never retire. Is time value of money a lie since it discounts the monetary value of our time? If time is money, how are they moving in different directions? We're working longer for less, we end up just giving away our freedom. Give up liberty for policies, give up our agency to the authorities. Because when our foundation is built on complexity, we simplify humans by giving up our humanity. Reality check, we've strayed too far from the truth. The world economy's a wreck when 1 + 1 no longer equals to 2. And if life's created from the truth, along the way something got screwed. And we let our own dogma subjectify value. We divorce action from consequence. We defy the law of physics. We made scarcity infinite. We disregard the language of mathematics. So our systems are built in a fallacy. Our society's based in a fantasy. In the absence of truth, we're living in the shadows of our own reality. And that's the root problem. Man-made rules can be broken. As our trust crumbles, so does the progress of our civilization. But one thing remains constant. No one can cheat nature. So why not use it to architect a stronger base layer? The most beautiful buildings engineered based on these consequences. Natural law drives rigor needed to build something enduring, uncompromising on principles that accounts for the flaws. Because when our lives are at stake, the gravity of truth cannot be ignored. So if our monetary systems were designed like structures, it would embody energy and matter so the money itself matters. An unbreakable limit enforced by costliness of creation ensures the structure holds value for many generations. A rule-based system governed by maths builds a transparent ecosystem that can self-error correct. With no one in charge, no words are taken as fact. Only work from computation can actualize truth of timestamps, and like water flowing off a cliff down the path of gravity, computational energy makes time flow one way only. It is this irreversibility which gives value to our money by upholding consensus and scarcity to create one shared reality. Now the map is the territory. Now we're working with high fidelity. Now money is truthfully time and energy bound by finality. Now we have the ability to manifest each of our dreams and build a world that's much more reflective of all of our needs. And that's the purpose of money, merely a tool to shape our reality, merely a function to harness and express individuality. It's just a way to live freely, just a means for possibility. Because when we build on integrity, we enhance the beauty of humanity. The most beautiful societies are built from diversity of our thoughts that come to life when we're empowered individually. Because when our money tomorrow is worth more than today, we shift from predicting to creating the future ourselves. And when our money grows in value, we grow thoughtful in how we use it. Natural law drives rigor needed to fund something enduring, something truly worth it, something that pushes the sky's limit, something only possible when our real value and consequence exist in boundless virtual dimensions. Imagine potential creations fueled by monetary life force lasting for many generations. We will venture into new territories and unleash these possibilities once we learn to embrace the truth of our reality.